What's up, family? Welcome to La Santera Tours. I am Alicia Anabel Santos.
I'm Renzo Devia.
And so we wanted to just record our conversation today. This is the first of three informational sessions about Cuba 2020, and we're thrilled to answer any questions and provide you with some guidance and support as we plan this trip and venture on just an exciting spiritual journey. And so I am Alicia Anabel Santos, the founder of La Santera, spiritual consulting firm. La Santera is a company just grounded in preserving our spiritual practices, providing spiritual support, helping people who are on a spiritual path, serving as a guide, right? And so one of the things that I've come to know is that my work as a Santera, as an Ocha, Omo Ogun, is that I am called to help people in terms of finding information that they might not have access to. And this is Renzo.
Well, going to Cuba is not easy for many reasons, and I think that what Alicia has founded here, this trip, La Santera Tours, that's what it's called, right? Is awesome because it can inform everybody to prepare for their trip. It could be on a vacation kind of trip, it could be on a spiritual kind of trip. Whatever it could be, we're here to help. We're here to guide, ask any questions to us. We're completely open to answer them, especially on the topic of Santeria, Ifa, and all the Afro-Latino religions in Cuba, because there's many. So yeah, we're here to answer any questions.
So before we even get into the trip, Renzo, let's just talk a little bit about how we came to the religion, how we met, what brought us to La Regla de Ocha, because the tour, we're calling it Inside La Regla de Ocha. So we are taking you into spaces that regular folk aren't allowed to enter because it's so private.
Well, one of the things that we learned was that you don't find a religion finds you, which is really destiny. That's one of the things I learned in Ifa, how we need to accept destiny and understand destiny, and let the path take you to destiny. Sometimes we get out of that path and do something called contratiempo, which is against our path. So sometimes we don't get to our destiny. Little baby. So when we found the religion, we actually were we were in different paths because we met and then we found ourselves going the same path. I was a television producer looking for a project to produce. She was a writer, and I started doing some research. I wanted to do a documentary called Afro-Latinos. I found her through an article. At the same time, again, I was looking for something spiritual, and I was doing research on the Orishas, and so was Alicia on her side. And then when we came together and we started producing this documentary called Afro-Latinos, it took us to Cuba. And again, we were just researching, we were just focusing on doing this documentary. We didn't go on a spiritual trip, but it became a spiritual trip. I was literally just focusing on shooting and interviewing people, and Alicia on writing, and it became something very spiritual where we connected with people that eventually became our godparents and our family. So later on, after a couple of trips, is when we actually did the ceremonies, and I became a babalao, and she una santera, hija de Ogun. So it takes time. I think patience is one of the things that we would like to express. Be patient, do your research. We did a lot of research. You know, we read a lot, asked a lot of questions, and we prepared ourselves logically, but also spiritually before committing to any serious ceremonies, because the ceremonies are very, very serious. And what I mean by serious is not only do you have to invest money and time, but you have to sacrifice a lot, and you will find out little by little the sacrifices you have to do to receive these ceremonies and then live with the blessings of the Orishas. So it's a lot.
So for me, the journey to Ifa to La Regla de Ocha, to the Santos, to this life, this is our life now, started in 2001 for me. It's very much aligned with my writer's journey when I came out as a writer, and I was on this journey of self-discovery that I read a memoir called In the Meantime, and the author, Iyanla Vanzant, talked about being a Yoruba priestess, and she didn't really talk a lot about the religion, but there was something in the way it was phrased in the memoir that called me, that made me feel like I had a connection to Nigeria that I wasn't aware of. And so fast forward to the writing of the article that Renzo references, Two Cultures Marching to One Drum, that was published in Urban Latino magazine. In it, I was exploring, that's our baby E, in the house. She has lots to say. And so, you know, when I write the article is all about bridging this black-brown divide and talking about what we have in common with African American culture, in that enslaved Africans were brought to Latin America. And so I was talking about the 150 million Afro-descendants that currently exist in our countries and all the contributions. And Renzo was doing the exact same work at the exact same time. But in video. And when he calls out to me and invites me to his offices, he does two things. First, he affirms the work. He's like, I'm really proud of you. First of all, being a Dominican who is owning being black is revolutionary. And I don't know how we're gonna work together, but I want us to work together because I'm thinking about leaving, I'm thinking about selling my company, and I'm thinking and working on a project. And I don't know how we're gonna work together, but we are. And we fast forward, that was in 2007, in 2008, we start on this journey of Afro-Latinos, The Untaught Story, which we've traveled to over 15 countries, filming everything that is the African diaspora in Latin America. How do we get to religion? Like Renzo said, while we were filming, one of the things that we were really mindful of was, let's get the story. Let's get the story right. Let's handle this responsibly. Let's get it done with accuracy and integrity. And so the religion was one of these things that we were studying, researching, and documenting, but we really weren't thinking about getting initiated. There was a love there and a respect there, but we knew in order to commit, that came with a lot. We needed to be certain, and what you were saying about being patient is it's key. It's crucial in this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when it comes to faith, you can't force it. You can't fake it. Everything that is done, if you want it to work, you have to believe. Okay, I'll give you an example. In La Ocha, in Santera, when you do una obra or an offering, it's not going to work if you don't believe in it. I mean, just think about it. You know, let's say taking some flowers to the river as an offering for a tune, putting a little candle, some honey, and singing to a tune. So to bring love in your life, or sensuality, or whatever you're asking for a tune, if you don't believe in Ochun, if you don't believe in what you're doing, in this energy that you're trying to receive and you're also giving out, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But it's the same thing when you go to a Catholic church or you go to a mosque and you pray and you don't believe. It's not going to work because you don't believe in it. So I think the faith is something that comes with time. And that's why I say patience, because it comes with time. The reason I personally, I'm going to say, the reason that I enter La Ocha, and of course Ifa, is because I felt something inside me, from here physically, inside me, that I say spiritual whenever I heard drums, specifically drums. Specifically los batas, los drums from Colombia, it's called cununos, la marimba, certain music connected me with Africa and made me feel something inside. Also made me cry. Something uncontrollable. I couldn't stop myself from crying. Something that the Catholic Church, unfortunately, I never felt this sensation. So the spiritual part became now physical, and I was like, wow, there's something there. You know, it feels like there's actually a spirit inside me or around me, you know, giving me vibrations. And that was the beginning. And that was the beginning of the Orishas, of my relationship with La Ocha. And that really opened the door for me to find out more, to make the initiation, and to practice, because I had faith.
You know, I love this conversation of being called. You don't pick it. It chooses the religion chooses you, and the santo chooses you. Just like not everyone can get initiated, not everyone can be crowned.
Correct.
The santo chooses you.
Correct.
You may go and receive a misa espiritual, be registered, receive kofa, and in your ita be told you will never be crowned.
That could happen.
Your path is something else.
Correct.
Because that's what this is about. And so, like, the journey for me in the religion is very much what Renzo's talking about, like being called. For me, it was more about timing. I knew that in order for me to say yes, I needed to be ready. Could I take care of my santos? Could I handle this responsibly? Could I be a servant to my Orisha? Because I'm also very much a feminist too, like being, you know, this idea of serving there's like a resistance to, you know.
That's interesting.
That's something that I definitely walked with, that I battled with for 10 years. I say this a lot. It took me 10 years studying and researching what is the Yoruba religion to then say, okay, yes, now I'm ready.
Oh,
and then meeting my padrino, who I knew was the person I would trust to guide me on this journey.
And when I say that the religion finds you, she found her padrino through me.
Yes.
And he was a friend of mine in Colombia, not in Cuba. He's Cuban. But in Colombia, she found him. And she before had a madrina, remember Regla?
Yep.
And she was like, oh, she's going to be madrina, she's going to be... And it turns out it wasn't
never
gonna be
supposed to be her.
So again, going back to what we talked about destiny and talking about the religion kind of finds you, or the energy finds you, that's a beautiful experience you guys will experience.
Hopefully encounter. All right, so La Santera tours. On the website, we have the dates, right? The trip is scheduled for February 26th through March 2nd, 6 days.
6 days.
5 nights, right? And the trip is really about connecting you to these spiritual leaders, these obas, santeros, babalaos, who we trust, who we know, who are part of our religious family. And really this initial trip is to connect you, is to bring you inside La Regla de Ocha. Now there are people who want to receive things. They want to receive, don't have to touch this, who want to receive eleques. We can talk about that separately. So if you're interested in receiving something, let's have a private conversation outside of what this tour is. Because we have an agenda where we are every day going to be experiencing something new. Like we are traveling to Matanzas, where Ifa La Regla de Ocha was born in Cuba. And so we're going to go to the museum. There are things that we're going to do to connect, and rituals that, for those who are not initiated, are allowed to see, right?
It's
So all of that is, it's an experience.
There's nothing like seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling the actual practices, because it's eventually something that you guys are going to do or not. So I really am excited about this.
Me
because
too.
we didn't go through that. I mean, we kind of did, because we were recording, we're kind of working.
Because we
but
were already
working,
traveling and meeting people.
but we didn't do it on a personal level.
Right.
You know, we were really working, and we were like, oh wow, we fell in love with this, and it took us there.
And we certainly didn't have anyone
And we didn't
who
have-
introduced us to people that we could trust.
Nobody.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we've
Ask
been traveling.
questions.
We've been traveling to Cuba since 2010.
Yeah.
Since 2010, we've been traveling almost on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
So here are the questions that people have asked. Can I get religious ceremonies while I'm there? Yes. It would have to be planned ahead of time, much ahead of time. So talk to us so that we can work that into the schedule and make sure that you're taken care of. So let's talk about what that looks like. What time is the latest flight? So there are two options. You buy the all-inclusive is $2,400. does not include the fees. That includes 2 meals a day, lodging, transportation, and the entire tour, all of the places that we're going to be visiting. And then it's $1,700 if you want to book your flight. So $2,400, we book it. $1,700, you book it, but you're responsible for your transportation. What does that look like? You take a cab to our casa particular, the house that we will be staying at together. All right. Someone asked if the address for the house will be disclosed. Yes, at the time of booking and registering, you will have all that information. Someone asked how roommates will be chosen. We're going to do that we're going to match you based on your interest and how you answer the questionnaire, and that will be provided to the people who register. What appropriate clothing should you wear and pack?
Well, I mean, you know, a lot of people say, oh, all Santeros are always wearing white. You wear white, but after actual ceremony, you can wear all white for respect. You can wear all white for your own cleanliness, but you don't have to wear all white. Cuba is obviously a very hot place, so you want to be comfortable, but you will be doing some kind of spiritual and religious activities. So in a way, think about wearing something respectable, you know? There's one thing I recommend, covering your head. And not just because of the sun, but you should cover your head every time you do anything spiritual. All right, any ceremonies around you, you should always cover your head. Why? Because the spirit lives in your head. The most important part of the body is your head. El ori. For us, Santeros and Babalos, the most important part of our bodies is the head, and we have to protect it because good things enter through here and bad things enter through here. So
you're protecting yourself.
You're protecting yourself. So, you know, turbantes,
scarf,
anything that will protect your head.
For men, it would be hat. For a woman, it would be a scarf. I do want to get into, like, if we're doing a spiritual thing like a misa, you would be asked to wear a saya, a skirt. That's very customary. It could be any color, a skirt. Doesn't have to be all white. I do like to dress in all white for all of my religious and spiritual things, but it isn't necessary. But you do want to wear light clothing because it's hot. It's the Caribbean. Absolutely. What other items are recommended that you bring on this trip? Snacks that you like, repellent, if you're prone to get bit by mosquitoes.
Yeah, well, you know, unfortunately, Cuba, the food is not, you can't compare it to the United States, you can't compare it to other countries. It's sometimes difficult to find food you like or food you want. The situation there is difficult, you know, it's a communist country. So if you do bring snacks, it's a good idea to bring some snacks. Protein bars, power bars, all that stuff to get you through sometimes, especially because you guys are going to have a heavy agenda. So it's not like you can stop and get a slice of pizza. It doesn't work that way in Cuba. You know, you can't really get food from the street. I wouldn't recommend because you never know, you might get sick. And this can happen anywhere. You go to Bolivia, you go to Colombia, anywhere. You eat food in the street, you might get sick. So food-wise, yeah, I mean, you obviously want to drink a lot of water, bottled water in Cuba. And yeah, bring snacks. What else? Nowadays they have toilet paper already. Right? When we used to go, they didn't have toilet paper.
It was hard to get, right?
It was very difficult to get. They didn't have toothpaste.
People have to remember that because of the block, right? The embargo, it's really difficult for Cuba to receive things that are so easily accessible to us here in the U.S.
We take it for granted. But now, this is a great experience, though. I know when you guys go and live this experience like we did, it definitely opens up your mind and you appreciate what you have, especially here in the United States. So again, you know, it's all an experience. Sometimes you want to go as prepared as possible, but you don't know what to expect.
Right.
So it's about living the experience. You know, there's no value to that.
Other question? What was the next question? Will I have access to Wi-Fi? Can
In
you
the
talk about
casa,
the Wi-Fi?
in the casa particular, yes, usually, but well, I don't know. We have to find out what casa particular. We have to see if they have.
But also talk about the cards and hotels.
Big hotels usually have Wi-Fi. So usually, I don't know now. Last time I went, it was like $5 for like 40 minutes. I think it was $5 for 40 minutes. I think it was. So you pay $5, you get a card with a number. You go on the Wi-Fi, you put in the number, and like for 40.
In the places that allow Wi-Fi, like there are certain sections.
Yeah. Well, there's certain hotels that have it, and you go to the lobby and you use it. Now, it doesn't mean you have full access to internet. Okay. It doesn't mean you can
high-speed internet.
No, of course not. You can't do video.
Let's set realistic expectations.
Yeah.
Let's keep it 100.
You cannot. There's some websites that are blocked. Okay. Skype, for example.
Yeah, you can't be FaceTiming.
Yeah. Video. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Because the internet is not that fast, and they do something to block it.
Right.
But you will have access to communicate to your loved ones and email and stuff like that.
What else? What's the next question?
Should we bring any form of ancestral symbolism items? Like if they want to bring any photos of their family members and stuff like that. Well, I mean, you're going to use it in a ceremony, and if you do plan to do a ceremony, yes. But that's not like something that you really need if you're just going just to live the experience.
Right.
Any recommendations reading about Ocha? Which like any books?
Yes. We can post that.
Yeah, we can post that.
Like we can post that. We'll post.
All the books that I have are in Colombia.
And I have stuff at home.
Can the group that is traveling together meet people here? Yeah, of course. We're here for that.
So first of all, the trip is leaving out of New York City. They wanted to know if we could have a meetup before the event.
Of
absolutely.
Course, definitely.
Those of us who are in New York, absolutely. And those who are traveling from outside, we can do something virtual for sure for those who don't live. What does the cost cover? So the cost covers your transportation, your airline, your transportation to and from the airport, your transportation all of the days of the trip, 2 meals a day, and our hotel. But it also covers all of the events that we're attending, all of the people who are working, all of the people that we have hired, all of the guides, all of the musicians, all of the dancers, everything that's being arranged for this trip, that's what the amount covers.
Yeah, so you will get the agenda. And you look at the agenda, and you'll see everything time by time is itemized. And you will have time to do some of your own stuff, right?
Yeah.
They will have some time.
You're gonna have personal time.
So souvenirs and
Absolutely.
pictures.
To go shopping. There's time set out every day for you to have your own private time.
And obviously Alicia and whoever else is there can guide you and tell you, go here, go there to take pictures.
We'll absolutely have recommendations.
And Malecon is beautiful at 6, 7 at night.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. There are places if you want to go dance, there's many places we could recommend. Beautiful.
Folks have asked, how you spiritually prepare for a trip like this. Mm-hmm. And my advice is to go with an open heart, to go with a lot of patience, right? Because remember that for those of you who have never been to Cuba, Cuba is magical and is a wonderful experience, but it is not without its challenges. So we ask that you come understanding the political climate, right? There's some research that you should do about Cuba and the state of Cuba so that you understand some things about Cuban people. But in terms of spiritual, just be open and trust that your ancestors are guiding you. They've guided you to this tour, to this experience, to us, and that you can trust the source, the people that are organizing all of this for you.
So one of the things I recommend is to do a little research on the orishas, specifically the orishas. Why? Because in Cuba, people are going to talk fast and they're going to tell you things as if you know. Like, oh, Chango said this, and you're like, who's Chango? So you should do a little background on who the Orishas are, the spirits, the santos, the saints, because in Cuba they're gonna basically talk really quick, and they expect you kind of to know, and you have to go back and explain. You might lose the information. So the basic right now is the Orishas, and I can name them, so you could do a little research. Is Chango, okay, Elegua, Ogun, okay, Ochun, Yemaya, Obatala.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's stop there because then it's too much. With that is enough. With those Orishas is enough. Just
And
do
I'll
your
post them
research.
on the website.
Yep, you could do your research, and they would be your Ángel de la Guardia. In English, it would be Ángel de la Guardia is angels, your angel, your guardian angel, your guardian angel. There's more Orishas, but for now you can do research on them and kind of get familiar with their attributes. Because if they are your guardian angel, you will find the same attributes, and they will help you find yourself.
Yay. Renzo forgot to mention that he's a babalao in the religion, and so
It's a high priest, father of all secrets.
yeah.
That's what a babalao means.
And how has the religion added to your life?
Well, I think first of all, it matures you from 1 to 100. You become a king when you get crowned. My saint is Elegua. You become a king, and what does that mean? That means that in these ceremonies, you learn who you are, and you say to yourself, you value yourself more. You know, you say to yourself, wow, I am a king in this world. So I should eat better. I should not smoke. You know, I should not drink. You know, I should try to live a straight path, a better path. That's one of the things that you right away you learn. You can take the information and throw it out and be like, oh, I'm gonna party, but trust me, the Orisha is gonna wake you up and say, what are you doing? You've been crowned. You know, you have this blessing. You know, it could be Ifa, it could be Ocha, whatever it is that you receive. It's a blessing, and how can you throw it away? For example, when you do a ceremony, you receive an ita, which is basically information about your life and the rest of your life. Imagine having that treasure and throwing it away. So you have to respect it, you have to read it, you have to follow it, and it's not easy because we're human beings, and we're human beings, we make mistakes. We're not perfect, we're not saints, we're not the Orishas.
Right.
But we receive this blessing, and you have to continue going. As a babalao, the first thing you have to do is read and study. You know, the first thing you are is a student. And trust me that I'm 4 years into the religion, being a babalao. And I don't know anything because it's so difficult. You have to learn thousands and thousands of legends and hundreds and hundreds of medicines with hundreds and hundreds or maybe thousands of herbs and combinations and singing and so much stuff you have to learn. And it's all about practice. You have to practice it to learn it. Remember, all this is African, and in Africa they didn't write on a piece of paper and give it to you. Everything was oral. So I have to learn from my godfather, my babalao. And it's difficult because my family is also in Colombia. I have my religious family is in Cuba actually, but I have also some families scattered, religious families scattered all over the United States also. So it's difficult because I need to practice with them, and that's something you guys are gonna possibly encounter, where you meet a godfather or godmother that lives in Cuba, but you guys live here in the United States. So that means you're gonna have to go to Cuba to learn from them, to practice. That'll be challenging. It's very challenging, but you can find ways. You can find ways. And as a babalao, our job is to help. Our job is to help. Our job is basically to help spiritually people, you know, as much as we can.
You know, as we come to a close, one of the things that Renzo said, you just said something really beautiful about how these traditions get passed down is through oral tradition, right? And so it's very much aligned with who I am as a writer and why it's so important for me to preserve our stories, to be someone who's the keeper of our secrets, who writes these secrets, you know, and so I understand. It's an honor for me. It's an honor for me to be a priestess. It's an honor for me to share this information, what I am allowed to share, right? Because it's a secret. But I'm excited. I'm excited to be on this journey with you all. Know that we are here to serve, and we're really excited. We're really excited for this Cuba 2020 trip. And if you have any questions, email us, write us, and we'll see you on the other side.
That's it. We'll wait it.